and welcome back to another episode of Robuilt. I'm your host, Rob. Today we're going to be talking about all your burning questions as it pertains to Airbnb, short-term rentals, and everything in between. Woo! That took several takes, by the way. All right, stop messing around, Kim. Today we're going to be talking about all of your burning questions as they pertain to the Airbnb, short-term rentals, and everything in between. You guys asked some really good questions. First one, this is always a good question. I got my first short-term rental going. How do I fund the second before I can show 2 years of income? This is pretty tough. I just quit my 9 to 5 15, 16, 17 months ago. Can't remember at this point. And even though I make substantially more money now, I still have a hard time getting a loan with the bank conventionally. They think I'm broke, even though I make more money than I do now because my income hasn't seasoned for a couple of years. Although finally, that problem is solved. So 2 answers here. You have to either play the waiting game and let your income season for 2 years, or 2, you can go with what's called a DSCR loan. That stands for debt service coverage ratio, where they'll qualify you for the loan based on the projected income of the property versus your actual debt to income ratio. If you want a mortgage broker that specializes in these types of loans, I'll leave a link in the description down below. Next, I have land, plans, and a builder. Where do I begin with financing my Airbnb build? Okay, cool, good question. So you're gonna have to go with what's called a new construction loan. If you play it right, you can actually get into a new construction loan, build a home, and get all your money back. So effectively what you're gonna do is you're gonna go to a bank that offers a new construction loan program. Now, typically they're gonna require a 20% down payment. So if you own a piece of land and it's worth $100,000 and your budget is $500,000, oftentimes the bank will use your land as collateral. They'll use the equity in that land towards your down payment. So you can actually build a home with nothing out of pocket if you already own the land. Let's even say that you don't own the land outright. Let's say you bought it for $50,000 and you've got a note on that piece of land, but it's actually worth $100,000 now. You got $50,000 of equity. That could go towards your 20% down payment. So in the scenario where you need to bring $100,000 to the table on a $500,000 loan, $50,000 of your equity nicks away at that $100,000. So you'd only have to bring $50,000 out of pocket, okay? This is a very in-depth for a short-term rental, but hey, you got me all prolific. Now here's where it starts getting super interesting. Let's say that you don't own the land, you just have the cash as a down payment. You can use that cash as a down payment on your $500,000 house if that's what it costs to build. However, that's your cost to build. Theoretically, the value of the home would be much more after it's actually built. So let's say you build a house for $500,000, but at the end of it, it's actually worth $750,000. You can do what's called a cash out refi and pull out 75% of the equity in it. So 75% of $750,000 is $562,500. Now remember, it costs $500,000 to build. You put $100,000 into it. So theoretically, your balance, roughly just for the example here, is $400,000 on that loan. So that's how much you owe. But with the cash out refi, you can actually take $162,500 back in the form of debt, put that back into your pocket, amortize that entire loan as a $562,500 loan over 30 years. And guess what? You got your money back and then some that you could then use to go and do this again and again and again. So that's the idea with the new construction, is that you put money into it, but at the end of this entire process, your house is so much more valuable that you can just pull all the money back out in the form of debt to pay yourself back and then go do it again and again and again and again. And that's the beauty of real estate, party peeps. Hopefully that was clear. In my mind, I'm like, I did make sense, but you know, did I make sense? Did I explain that clearly? Oh, I'm sure there will be sharks in there that's like, you had the math wrong. Is it really possible to quit my job through real estate? Yes, absolutely. You can quit your job to be a full-time real estate investor if you really want to do that. However, more and more these days, I'm pushing, especially all of my students, to not make your goal quitting your job as fast as you can. I think if you have a solid 9 to 5 W-2 job, you should really stick with that as long as possible so that you can just keep stashing away money and investing it in your short-term rental portfolio or rental portfolio, and really just keep building that for as long as possible until it's not physically possible for you to do more with the real estate empire without quitting your other job. The reason I say this is, let's say that you get a couple of Airbnbs, and let's say that you're making $10,000 a month profit. And let's say that that replaces your 9 to 5 job. Great, cool. You quit your job. You're now paying yourself from a short-term rental, which is really, really great. But then where are you going to get the money to invest into your next short-term rental, right? And so this is where it takes a little bit of discipline. So instead of just focusing on replacing your income outright, you have to really understand that when you're trying to replace your income as a real estate professional, just to keep it one-to-one, you have to make about 130% in income on your real estate side because you're going to be self-employed, 1099, because with your W-2 job, you're getting all your benefits, and all those benefits are worth 25 to 30%. So just to be a net even, you have to make 130% as a self-employed person to make up for what you're going to lose on your W-2. However, you also want to make money so that you can keep investing, right? So on top of making the 130%, you probably want to make closer to 160 to 175%, just spitballing here, so that you actually actually have a little bit more money that you can stash away and use to keep developing your portfolio. So while it is possible, that's all of our goals. That's what I want for you. That's what I want for a lot of my students. In fact, a lot of host campers have quit their jobs to become Airbnb hosts. What I really want is for you to keep your eye on the prize, stay disciplined, sacrifice short-term comfort for long-term gain. And if you can do that, then you're gonna be a lot wealthier in the long run than if you just try to quit in the next like 6 months. Sorry, I know that's not probably like the most beautiful answer out there. And it's like you wanted me to say, yeah, you can go quit tomorrow. You can do that if you really want to. It'll just require you to work more and work harder. So if you're willing to do that, sure. The path is there a little bit faster if you want it to be. Have your bookings slowed down? Yeah, this is a big question right now. A little bit, not enough to where I'm freaking out. I mean, here's the deal. 2020 and even 2021 were really unprecedented years for travel, just because with the pandemic, people were wanting to get out of the house and go and travel and just like work from home. And the whole culture of working from home and working in corporate, that all shifted. And so people were traveling more. Us as hosts broke all of our income records. So it's really unfair to compare where we are now to where we were 1 to 2 years ago, because it was just completely different circumstances. So here's the biggest difference that I've noticed, all right? I'm gonna show my Josh Retreat Casita Conejo right here on the screen. And I want you to understand right now, we're filming this on October 18th. Don't know when it's coming out, probably a month after this. But as of October 18th, you can see that a lot of October was actually filled up until this moment. So what I've noticed mostly is that I'm getting a lot of last minute bookings. Most of my bookings on a lot of my properties come in last second. A lot of people have commented and they said, I've looked at your calendar, you're lying, you're not as booked as you said, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, it kind of looks like that if you look at the calendar that way. And so it actually does make comping out a little bit tougher these days. But I just want you to know that yes, bookings have slowed down in the sense that people aren't booking my places 30 days or 60 days in advance the way they used to. They still book out pretty far in advance in the Smoky Mountains and everything. But in other markets, I'm just getting last second things. So yes, they have slowed down a little bit, but my short-term rental income is still great. I just have to change my perception and recalibrate and understand that nowadays we're just going back to the status quo, what we were before COVID. And that's okay. I think a lot of people are freaking out and they're like, everything is slowing down. It's like, well, yeah, it's slowing down because things are just back to normal now. It's fine. It doesn't mean the end of the world is here. It just means that things are okay again. I hope. Are things okay again? Can I say that?
This is the worst.
Is it still smart to get into the Airbnb game? 100,000 million trillion %. You know, here's a really big thing that I think a lot of people just aren't understanding. And it's that, look, with higher interest rates, returns are going down for everybody, not just short-term rentals, all right? So yeah, short-term rental returns are diminishing, but guess what? So are long-term rental returns, and so are stock market returns, and so are crypto returns. You know what I mean? So everybody's kind of feeling it right now. It's not just short-term rentals. Here's what I can say about this, and here's what I really want you to understand. It's previously short-term rentals, it was the Wild West. You could get a 40 to 60% cash on cash super easily. And then over the last year, I was getting 25 to 40% on a lot of different places that I was going out and making offers on. Nowadays, I'm expecting anywhere from a 15 to a 25% for the types of properties that I'm specifically targeting. What I have found is the more expensive the property, the lower the return, because as you deploy more and more capital, it's tougher to get a higher return on it. Think about hedge funds and Wall Street and people who manage billions of dollars. If you have $1 billion hedge fund, a lot of those guys are getting a 3-4% return on the money because it's very hard to get a 20% return on $1 billion.
This is the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my entire life.
But if I wanted to go out and buy a $200,000 home, yeah, I could get a 40, 50% cash on cash return, I'm sure, if I really wanted to work through that property. But a 40% return on a $200,000 property is not equivalent for me in my specific situation to a 15% return on a $2 million property. I'll take that one for a lot of different reasons. A, the cash flow is probably just gonna be a lot higher in general, like the actual cash that I get every month. B, the tax incentives are gonna be a lot higher than I would on a $200,000 house. And 30 years from now, my $2 million home will be paid off because other people will have paid me rents for it, and it will be worth double or triple. Whereas with the $200,000 property, same thing applies. It'll be worth $400,000, $600,000, a lot less than what that $2 million property would have appraised to. Okay, so that's my soapbox on short-term rentals very quickly, because I wanted to say, yes, short-term rental returns might be getting a little bit smaller. 20 to 25% is really what I'm targeting on most of my properties specifically, okay? But what does that mean for long-term rentals? Well, I'm gonna say this. with a long-term rental, previous to now, most investors were getting a 6 to 10% cash on cash return on average. There were people that were pulling off more than that, but on average, a 6 to 10% cash on cash return. But now with the rising interest rates, it's no longer 6 to 10%. It can be anywhere from a break even to a 6%, right? So long-term rental returns, in my mind, basically non-existent. So when you compare that to what short-term rentals are, the two are not equivalent at all. It's a very clear choice for me that short-term rentals are the way to go. Now, let's get into stocks and crypto, all right? Crypto, I'm a believer in crypto. I wanna buy more crypto, but I'm not even gonna put that in the same category as stocks that are categorically more stable over time, right? Right now, the stock market is down, okay? And so a lot of people will say, well, yeah, why not just buy stocks instead of buying real estate? Stocks actually pay dividends and they've been around and blah, blah, blah. Okay, here's why I don't think that stocks and real estate are equivalent. Stocks, you don't really get a ton of tax benefits from, right? You can spend $50,000 on stocks and theoretically they'll go up over time. The same applies for real estate. You can spend $50,000 and leverage that money and get into a home that costs you $250,000. And over the course of 30 years, sure, your stocks will have gone up in price, but guess what? Your $250,000 home will have probably doubled, maybe tripled over the same 30-year course. But on top of that, you have so many opportunities to make that money back with your $50,000 in cash flows, in appreciation. You can do a cash out refi, pull all that money out, and then talk about tax deductions and depreciation. And if you run a cost segregation study on that property, if it's a short-term rental, you can use the short-term rental loophole where you can actually take bonus depreciation and use that to lower your entire tax bill, maybe even eliminate it, even if you have a W-2 job. There's a lot there. I don't really want to go into it because I'm not a CPA, but I have a couple of videos on this. But the point I'm trying to make is stocks, in my mind, great investment if you want to diversify and everything like that. I just don't think it's at all in the same wheelhouse as real estate, even long-term rentals, you know? So for me, short-term rentals are the emperor, long-term rentals are the king, the stable king, and then stocks are not the jester, we'll call it the prince or the princess, all right? Sorry, I don't mean to get all heated on this. It's always crazy to me that people try to make stocks and real estate equivalent. I just don't think they are at all. So with all of that said, yes, I do still think it's a smart time to get into Airbnb. I think it's a smart time to get into real estate at any point because I promise you, you'll be thanking yourself that you did 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years from now. They always say that the best time to get into real estate was 10 years ago. The next best time is now, all right? So yes, I'm always gonna be an advocate for short-term rentals. Big fan of them, obviously. And if you wanna learn how to get into short-term rentals and you wanna learn how to do that for me, if you watch my channel, you're like, hey, I like learning from you, I have a whole 12-month mentorship program called Host Camp where I really go way deeper than I do on the channel. I've got over 100 calls every year with design coaches, comping and analysis coaches, automation coaches, super host coaches, realtor coaches, loan officer coaches. Effectively, I have tried to solve all the pain points of the short-term rental journey, and I have over 1,000 students and hundreds of listings across the country that are absolutely crushing it. So if you wanna learn Airbnb directly from me, consider booking a free call with my team over at hostcamp.com. I'll also leave a link in the description down below. And of course, I'll always have free information on YouTube. This is what I do. I like to teach it. The program is really meant for people to get serious about it, take action, get started, get established, and scale their operation. So again, if you wanna learn how to do that, go to hostcamp.com. So I'm just gonna end it there because I feel like these were all very philosophical and high level, and I like to go through AMAs as fast as I can. These questions were just way too big to be very fast answers. So here we go. An M. Night Shyamalan twist, an AMA that's only 5 questions. Hey, by the way, if you like this video, last night I literally shot a video called How to Start an Airbnb During the Recession. So check out next Monday's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching so much. And it seems like you guys like the AMAs. If you have any questions, if there's anything that I didn't answer, please leave them in the comments down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. That kind of stuff genuinely helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Anytime you do that, YouTube recommends that to other people that are looking to learn and get started in this journey. So if you want to help me and Caleb out,
please, sir, I want some more.
Don't forget to hit the like button, and I'll catch you on the next episode of Robuilt. Okay, bye.
See ya.